guys, welcome to the first lesson of Level 7 on the BritTalk website. Today we are looking at the modal verbs would and used to. Now, I'm sure you've seen the word would used for conditional sentences, but today we're going to look at another use of would to talk about the past. So first of all, what is a modal verb? Modal verbs can change the meaning of a sentence. For example, they can suggest obligation, such as must. I must do my homework. They can suggest possibility, such as could. I could do my homework. This is a possibility. Capability, such as can. I can do my homework. I am capable of doing my homework. So in the first part of this lesson, we are going to look at the modal verb used to. The modal verb used to in English is used to talk about an action which regularly happened in the past but no longer happens now. For example, when I was younger, I used to go to my grandma's after school. We used to go to the park together on Sunday. They used to eat popcorn at the cinema when they were little. The modal verb used to is also used to describe a state which was true in the past but is no longer true now. For example, when I was little, I used to have blonde hair. She used to be very impatient, but now she's changed. They used to hate cleaning their rooms. So, as with all modal verbs, used to is followed by the bare infinitive. For example, my family and I used to go to France on holiday. Our company used to give an annual bonus at Christmas. We used to go swimming on Saturday. So, what is the difference between used to and the simple past? Let's look at these examples in the simple past. My family and I went to France on holiday. Our company gave an annual bonus at Christmas. We went swimming on Saturday. So, used to and the bare infinitive really emphasize the fact that it was a repeated action in the past. In these examples with the simple past, it suggests that the action happened once or on one day. Okay, so now I want to look at used to in the negative form, and there are two ways we can do this. So option 1 is to use the auxiliary verb in the negative, didn't. So let's take the example, I used to like going to the cinema. So we take I used to, but pay attention, we remove the D from the word used. And then we add didn't. So this becomes, I didn't use to like going to the cinema. I didn't used to like going to the cinema. But remember that word use has no D in the negative. So here are some more examples. I didn't used to like mushrooms, but now I love them. He didn't used to talk to his boss, but now they're good friends. So option 2 is a little bit easier because we can use the word never and we can keep the D. So for example, I never used to like mushrooms, but now I love them. He never used to talk to his boss, but now they're good friends. So again, I want you to challenge yourselves and write your own sentences in the negative with both didn't and never, and you can post your answers in the comments. Okay, let's look at used to with questions. We'll take the example, they used to travel a lot. So again, we need to take away the D because we need the auxiliary verb did. So our question becomes, did they used to travel a lot? So again, the use has no D, no D. So I want to practice together and I want you to see if you can create the question before me. Okay, are you ready? So number 1, you went to school by bus. So how can we create a question from this sentence with used to? I'll leave you a few seconds and then we can look at the answers together. Perfect. So did you used to go to school by bus? Without the D on use. Number 2, the company hired temporary staff. Excellent. Did the company used to hire temporary staff? Number 3, they kept the invoices where? So you've got a question word this time. Excellent. Where did they used to keep the invoices? Perfect. Really good work, guys. So as we have seen so far, used to and the bare infinitive is used to talk about a repeated action or a state in the past. However, do not confuse used to and the bare infinitive with to be used to and the gerund. These are two different structures with two different meanings. Okay, so used to in the bare infinitive is for repeated actions or states in the past, and to be used to plus the gerund means to be habituated to something, so a completely different meaning. For example, I am used to speaking several different languages throughout the day. I'm used to speaking several languages throughout the day. I'm habituated to doing this. We are used to cooking our own meals. We are habituated to cooking our own meals. And we can use this structure in the past form, but the verb to be is then changed into the simple past. So I was used to speaking several languages throughout the day as a child. We were used to cooking our own meals at uni, which means university. So essentially, do not confuse these two structures because they have different meanings. They mean different things. Used to and the bare infinitive means repetition, a repeated action or a state in the past. To be used to is about being habituated to something, okay? Our second modal verb of this lesson is the modal verb would to talk about the past. So as you know, would is usually used and often used in conditional sentences. So I would study English if I had more time. She would like to be a painter. But would can also be used to talk about repeated actions in the past. For example, we would go to the sweet shop on Saturdays. They would wait for their father to arrive at the gates. She would make delicious cakes for us. So as you can see, it's used in a very similar way to used to, and we will look at the differences in a moment. Pay attention, would is used with the bare infinitive, so the infinitive without to. We would go, they would wait, she would make, for example. But what exactly is the difference between would and used to? Well, as we have seen, used to is used to talk about a state in the past. For example, I used to be a singer many years ago. It is also used to talk about repeated actions in the past. So I used to sing for 2 hours every day. Would can also be used for repeated actions in the past. I would sing for 2 hours every day. But would cannot be used for states. So we cannot say, I would be a singer many years ago. So this is the main difference between would and used to. Used to can be used for states and actions. Would can only be used for repeated actions in the past. There is also a subtle difference in the tone. So with used to, there is a neutral tone. It's not positive, it's not negative, it's very neutral. With would, the tone is quite nostalgic, so it's usually used for positive childhood memories, but very, very nostalgic in general. So your challenge, can you create your own examples using would and used to, and write your answers in the comments. Okay, so the last thing I want to look at is negatives with would, and there are two ways we can do this. So we can have would plus not, which is abbreviated to wouldn't. So for example, I used to steal all the sweets and I would share them with my sisters. If we want to turn this into a negative, we can say I used to steal all the sweets and I wouldn't share them with anyone. Okay, so here are some more examples. My parents wouldn't let me walk to school on my own. They always came with me. Or if we had an argument, we wouldn't talk to each other for hours afterwards. The second way to do this is would plus never. So we can say I would never skip a meal. Eating was my favourite part of the day. They would never leave without telling me. And we would never put up the Christmas tree before December. So this is how we create negatives with would. We can create questions, so would plus the subject plus the verb. So for example, would you go to the lake when you were younger? But to be honest with you, to be very, very honest with you, I have never really heard this structure to talk about the past as a question. Okay, so it's very, very rare to use would to talk about the past in a question, molto, molto raro. So I would just say don't worry about questions with would because nobody really uses them. Okay. So that is our lesson on would and used to, but just before we finish, I just want to recap and sum up the rules that we have looked at today. So used to. Used to is used for repeated actions in the past, such as we used to go to the cinema after school. It is also used for states in the past, so we used to have a lot of friends. Would can be used for repeated actions in the past, such as we would go to the cinema after school, but it cannot be used for states, so we cannot say we would have lots of friends. The negative form of used to can be formed with the subject didn't plus used to without the D plus the verb, so we didn't used to go. We can also create negatives with never, so subject plus never plus used to with the D plus the verb, so we never used to go. Negatives with would can also be created with the subject plus wouldn't plus the verb. I wouldn't go. Or the subject plus would plus never plus the verb. I would never go. Questions can be created with used to, with did plus the subject plus used to without the D again because we have the auxiliary verb did and the verb. So did you used to go? Questions with would can be created with would plus the subject plus the verb. So would you go? Remember with used to that it should not be confused with to be used to, which means to be habituated to. Remember with would that it is very rare to create questions with would to talk about past repeated actions. So don't worry about questions for would. The tone of used to is neutral and the tone of would is nostalgic. So that is the end of the lesson today. I hope everything is clear. Please send me an email if there's something you're not sure about. And remember, you have the exercises on the portal as well as the PDF to download and read through. Okay, so good luck and see you in class.